Becker really very sharp at the net
Becker.
and deals with a tough backhand so easily. That really was a super backhand volley.
Game Becker.
Well, you've got to hand it to him.
1 game off.
He was absolutely purposeful. With that brilliant backhand volley, reminded me so much of his form in the final of the Australian Open when he beat Michael Chang, and he was so secure at the net.
Let pursue. Let pursue. Out. 15 left. $30 left. Let first service. $40 left.
One of the reasons why Becker is so sharp, he was out practicing with Patrick Cunan, his former Davis Cup teammate in Germany, with Mike De Palma standing behind him. Practicing return of serve a lot, he was.
$40-15. $40-30.
Overpressing. Because the reason is that Becker's returns of serve have been so good, playing so much better today, really, than in the earlier part of the week.
Game over. Edberg leads 2-1.
Well, Edberg hanging on, not only onto his own serve, but he's threatening very much more on the Becker serve, since he's getting closer and just looking for a little bit of luck to establish the break. But he is such a delight to watch as a player, and he's really improvising on his own serve. He decides to stay back. This was a second serve during the last game. The return down the middle, and that was a good forehand. It allowed him to move forward. Now, the volley that he plays here on the move on the backhand side is really a beautiful shot. Difficult, really, but he made it look so easy with the depth, and there a fine punch on the forehand side. The power just too much for Becker. A big shoulder rotation on the serve. And there's the forehand, a very straight arm shot but that was an effective one, moving forward, a nice check step, watching the ball, beautifully caressing it as he moves forward. Look how crouched he is, ready to pounce at the net, which he does, of course, on that volley. Absolute delight to watch. So, Edberg looking for a first break of serve. On his toes. But Becker not about to be rushed. In complete control. 1-2.
Fifteen love.
It doesn't count second time. Oh,
30 love.
Yes, this is a very purposeful Becker, isn't it? My goodness, he's so focused. A little curve on the serve down that centre line.
Love. .40-15.
That was clever. Edberg, first time almost being able to chip and charge and forcing the volley wide. Perfect.
Game back. Two games all.
Well, the bonus of the wide serve is that the cross-court volley is so much easier.
Love.
Remember the Becker boogie all those years ago? When he'd hit a winning shot, he'd do a little war dance. He's a much more mature individual these days.
Love. Love.
A little more of the poetry and motion that Mark Cox was talking about.
40,
Well,
15.
this return's worth a second look. Edberg could hardly move. Becker sometimes moves very well for a big man, and he has to, right here, he has to change direction, get into position, and he plays the forehand down the line. Look how quickly he adjusts there. Gets the weight onto his right foot and whips that forehand down the line.
Let for service. Game edberg. Edberg leads 3 games to 2.
Mark, I'm just thinking what an extraordinary record here Becker has had. He's playing here for the 10th time and in the 5th final, so every other year he plays here, he gets to the final. And it's a little bit daunting, that, for all the other players, to find such a grass court specialist here. It somehow makes life almost impossible for them.
Yes, he has a fantastic record. Of course, he generally goes on and plays well at Wimbledon. His Wimbledon record is quite something. 3 titles, and has been the runner-up on 3 occasions, and indeed last year against Sampras he was in the final. And it's interesting, isn't it, to see how well he has sustained such a high level of play for so long. It seems to me that he's been around for an eternity, but yet he is still one of the strongest players, both physically and in tennis terms, in world tennis. And indeed this year arguably is having one of his best years. He's won the Grand Slam in Australia. He was a little bit unfortunate not to play the French Championships, but perhaps that's going to be a bonus or a blessing in disguise for him. He sustained that injury in the thigh. Noticeably, he was here over a week ago, in fact 10 days ago, in preparation for this tournament on the back courts. So he's going to go into Wimbledon, and certainly in this tournament, with plenty of grass court practice, some wins under the belt, which gives the essential confidence for any player of whatever standard.
Still no breaks, 2-3.
$15 love. $15 all. $30-15. $40-15. $30 left. First service.
Becker really very sharp at the net
Advantage, Becker.
and deals with a tough backhand so easily. That really was a super backhand volley.
First serve. Let. First serve.
Out.
15 left. Game, Becker.
Well, you've got to hand it to him.
1 game all.
He was absolutely purposeful. With that brilliant backhand volley, reminded me so much of his form in the final of the Australian Open when he beat Michael Chang, and he was so secure at the net.
Let.